This is Life in UK Test, Chapter 3, which is on a long and illustrious history. From this chapter, around 7 questions will actually come in the exam. This chapter has 6 parts to it. The first is Early Britain, second, Middle Ages, third, Tudors and Stuarts, fourth, Global Power, fifth, 20th century, sixth, Britain since 1945. Now, this session will concentrate on early Britain alone. So, I will first go through the knowledge part and will also at the same time tell the different MCQs which have come up in all the previous exams on this topic. So, this chapter of a long and illustrious history, I will be concentrating on early Britain, and this chapter has a number of subdivisions in it. The first one is about Stone Age people. So, the first people to live in Britain during the Stone Age, they were hunter gatherers. Um, Lots of MCQs they do come on it, and the questions asked are who were the first people to live in Britain during the Stone Age? So, they are the hunter gatherers. The second type of question asked in this is during the Stone Age, Southeast Britain was connected to the mainland Europe or continent by a land bridge which is called Doggerland, and about 10,000 years ago, Britain became permanently separated from the continent by English Channel. So the question asked in this is that when did Britain permanently separate from the continent? That was about 10,000 years ago. The next important question is about 6,000 years ago, the first farmers arrived in Britain. Their ancestors came from Southeast Europe. So, two important questions come from this sentence, and that is where did the first farmers come from? So, the first farmers came from Southeast Europe. And the other type of question they can ask you in this is when did the first farmers come to Britain? So, they came around 6,000 years ago. Next, the Stone Age people built monuments. The Stonehenge is a monument of Stone Age which is located in Wiltshire. So the type of questions asked on this is which monument is in Wiltshire? So it is Stonehenge. Or which monument was built during the Stone Age? That is Stonehenge. The last important question is Carabrai is also a Stone Age site which is a preserved prehistoric village located in Orkney, Scotland. So they can ask you 2 questions from this. The which is the preserved prehistoric village? That is Carabrai. Or where is Carabrai located? It is located in Orkney, Scotland. So after Stone Age came the Bronze Age. People learned to make bronze around 4000 years ago. So the about 4000 years ago is the important part of the MCQ, when the people you learn to make bronze. These people used to live in round houses and they buried their dead in tombs called round barrows. So what is round barrows, or when in what did they bury their deads in? That is referred to as round barrows. People of this age were metal workers who made objects in bronze and gold. So the Bronze Age people were mainly metal workers. So the Iron Age came after Bronze Age. The people here in this age learned to make weapons and tools out of iron. These people also used to live in round houses. They made hill forts. An example of an Iron Age hill fort is seen at Maiden Castle in English county of Dorset. So, in this, two type of questions can be asked: that the hill fort, which hill fort during the Iron Age is important, is the most famous one, that is Castle. Where is the Maiden Castle located? It is located in the English county of Dorset. These Iron Age people were mainly warriors and they spoke Celtic language. Again, this is an MCQ. The Iron Age people made the first coins to be minted in Britain. The coins had the names of Iron Age kings inscribed on them. So the questions asked on this is: who made the first coins to be minted in Britain? These are the people of Iron Age. Or they can ask you, when were the first coins in Britain made? They were made in the Iron Age. Or the next question could be, what was inscribed on the first coins minted in Britain? The names of Iron Age kings were inscribed on them. After the Iron Age came the Romans. So the first foreign Roman invasion of Britain was in 55 BC. It was led by Julius Caesar. This, however, was unsuccessful. So the question on this asked is: who led the first invasion of Britain? The first invasion of Britain was led by Julius Caesar. So after that, for 100 years, the Britain remained separate from the Roman Empire. And in AD 43, Emperor Claudius led Roman army in a new invasion and he was successful. Again, they can ask you that when was the second invasion of England? That was led by Emperor Claudius in 43 AD. Now, when the Romans came to England, one tribal leader, Boudica, who was the queen of Iceni in east of England, fought against the Romans. And there is a statue of her in Westminster Bridge near the House of Parliament in London. This is also a very pet question. They can ask you is which tribal leader fought against the Romans? That is Boudica, the queen of Iceni. Or Boudica fought against which foreign invaders? That are those are the Romans. The next is Romans were not able to conquer Scotland because Emperor Hadrian built a wall in north of England to keep out the Picts, who are the ancestors of Scottish people. Now, within this wall, there are two forts. One is a fort of Housesteads and the other is a fort of Indolanda. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is popular for walkers. Now, a number of questions can be asked on this, that who built a wall in the north of England to keep out the Picts? That is Emperor Hadrian. Or which two forts are parts of the Hadrian Wall? These are Fort of Housesteads or the Fort of Indolanda. They can even ask you that which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site during the Romans' time, that is the Hadrian Wall. So for 400 years, these Romans then stayed in Britain and they introduced new plants and animals. The first Christian communities began to appear in Britain in 3rd and 4th centuries AD. I have marked the MCQ questions in bold. In 410 AD, the Roman army left Britain to defend other areas of the Roman Empire and they never came back. So the question could be, when did the first Christian communities appear in Britain? That was during the 3rd and 4th centuries. Or which tribes introduced new plants and animals in Britain? That is the Romans. So after the Romans came the Anglo-Saxons. When the Romans left Britain in 410 AD, Britain was again invaded by tribes from northern Europe, and these included Jutes, Angles, and Saxons. So the question asked is which tribes came to Britain after Romans left in 410 AD? These include the Jutes, the Angles, and the Saxons. Or where did these tribes come from? They came from northern Europe. So by 600 AD, the Anglo Saxon kingdom was established in Britain, and one of the kings of this era is buried in a place known as Sutton Hoo in Suffolk. He was buried with his armor and treasure in a chest in a ship, which was then covered with earth. So the question asked is where in England was one of the Anglo-Saxon king buried with treasure and armor? That is in Sutton Hoo in Suffolk. So Wales and Scotland, they remained free of the Anglo-Saxon rule. When the Anglo-Saxons first came to Britain, they were not Christians, and during their period, the missionaries came to Britain to preach Christianity. Saint Patrick, who later became the patron saint of Ireland, Saint Augustine, who led missionaries to spread Christianity from Rome to South, he later became the Archbishop of Canterbury, and there was a Saint Columba who founded a monastery on Iona Island in Scotland. Now, a number of questions can come from this, that who was the first Archbishop of Canterbury? That first Archbishop of Canterbury was Saint Augustine. Or what did Saint Augustine later become? He became the first Archbishop of Canterbury. So the Vikings first came to Britain in 789 AD in order to raid the coastal areas, to steal goods, and to take with them the slaves. They came from Denmark and Norway. So this question can come. The Vikings came from? They came from Denmark and Norway. And when did they first come to Britain? They came in 789 AD. So, England united under Anglo-Saxon king, King Alfred the Great, to defeat the Vikings. The question asked is, under which king did the Anglo-Saxons and England unite to defeat Vikings? That is King Alfred the Great. Or who defeated Vikings? King Alfred the Great. After the defeat, many Vikings they stayed back in north and east of England in an area called Danelaw. This is also an MCQ. Grimsby and Scunthorpe are some of the names of areas which have come from Vikings language. So they can ask you these as well. The Anglo Saxon kings stayed and ruled in England except for a very short period of time when there were Danish kings, and the first Danish king's name was Nut or Canute. So, this is also asked in the MCQ. So, the first Danish king name was, they give both the options, Nut or Canute. The Scotland united under their first king, Kenneth MacAlpin, because of the threat of the Vikings. The MCQ asked is that who was the first king of Scotland? That is Kenneth MacAlpin. So, after these, we talk about the Norman conquest. The last successful foreign invasion of England was the Norman conquest in 1066 by William I the Conqueror, who was originally the Duke of Normandy in France. William defeated Anglo Saxon king Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Harold was killed in this battle, and William then became the King of England and was known as William the Conqueror. So the questions asked here is that which was the last successful foreign invasion of England? That was the Norman conquest. And when did it happen? When did the last successful foreign invasion of England take place? It took place in 1066. Then they talk about Buick's tapestry. Now, this is a piece of embroidery which actually commemorates this Battle of Hastings, and it can be seen in France. It is actually a linen cloth which is embroidered with colored wool and is about 70 meters or 230 feet long. So the question asked is that Buick's tapestry commemorates which battle? That is a battle of Hastings. Where can you find Buick's tapestry? You can find it in France. How long is the Buick's tapestry? They can give you both the measurements, either 70 meters or 230 feet long. So you should remember both of these. The Normans, they were not able to take over or invade Scotland. They initially did conquer Wales, but eventually the Welsh won their territory back. Now, Domesday Book is a book written just after Norman conquest and gives an idea how people lived just after Norman conquest. William I the Conqueror sent people all over England to draw up a list of all the towns, people who lived there, who owned land, what animals they had, and this was referred to as the Domesday Book. So the questions asked in this is, which king introduced the Domesday Book? That was William I the Conqueror. When was Domesday Book written? After the Norman conquest. What tells us about how people lived just after the Norman conquest? That is the Domesday Book. So two records which give information about England during the reign of William I are Domesday Book and the Buick's Tapestry. Now, this William the Conqueror also built White Tower in the Tower of London during 1080, and this is an example of normal castle keep. The question asked is, who built Tower of London? So William the Conqueror did that. Which historical monument did William the Conqueror build? He built White Tower. Now, wife of Henry VIII, this will come in the Middle Ages, but I'm just telling you here so that you can remember it. Wife of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, was executed at the Tower of London as she was accused of taking lovers. So this is an additional sentence which I've added here, which will come in the later audios. After the Norman conquest, king and his noblemen spoke Norman French, while the peasants they spoke Anglo-Saxon. These two languages combined to form English language, and they were used during the Middle Ages. So the question asked is, which two languages combine to form English language? One is Norman French and the other is Anglo-Saxon. Right, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will be posting more audios. Do subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Good luck.